Who else do we have online?
Les Owen and Ryan Ward at Department of Ag.
Here at the National Weather Service office, we have John and Molly from the State Engineer's Office, Santa Fe. Sean and Dee and myself from the Weather Office. And a couple of reporters, I believe, but I don't know their name. Oh, okay. Farm Service. Oh, okay. I know I recognize them, but unfortunately I don't know their name.
Farm Service Agency.
Okay.
So we have Emelita. Is that right? Well, welcome everybody. Anybody else? We haven't acknowledged you?
Dave, this is Mary Ewell from the BLM.
Great.
National Weather Service, El Paso.
Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Hey, Dave, good morning. This is Victor Murphy from Weather Service Southern Region Headquarters.
Welcome, Victor. All right, well, welcome everyone. Let's get started with the National Weather Service climate and weather outlook with Chuck.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, I don't have any more good news for you at all. Still pretty much all bad news here, even looking ahead toward the summer monsoon season. So let's go ahead and get started with the evil stuff here. April mostly was below normal. There was a little bit near normal, perhaps even a few spots with above normal in the northwest part of the state. But overall, the month ended up the 12th driest on record, about a half an inch below normal for an average across the state. Looking at the first 4 months of the year, statewide average, pretty poor, 47%. The northwest plateau has zoomed out to the lead here now, replacing the northeast, with about 2/3 normal precipitation, while the southern deserts and Central Valley, good portion of central and south central part of the state, below 1/3 normal precip for the calendar year. So pretty poor, and that ended up being the 19th driest on record for the first 4 months of the calendar year. And here, just for the calendar year, some precipitation deficits. I pulled off some of the worst ones that I could find that people knew where they were, at least. We're about the best here at 32%, with just 0.6 of an inch of precipitation so far this year. And you see, really the valley here, Santa Fe down to Albuquerque, Coro, and then over to White Sands, very, very poor. The teens are even worse for sense of normal, so not good at all. Backtrack to the water year, October through April, slightly worse, 45% normal statewide average. Again, in the northwest plateau doing the best, if you can call it that, at 60%. And the central valleys and southern deserts have dropped even lower, right around 1/4 of what normally should have fallen over these past 7 months. Let's go even farther back now. We're going to look at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5-year consecutive periods of how we're doing precipitation-wise, how we're ranking. And for the past 12 consecutive months, May 2012 through April 2013, we're just edging out the early 1900s, 1920s, and 1950s droughts. We are the worst right now for the past 12 months. And the next slide is 24 months. It's a broken record. We're again now the driest on record for a 24 consecutive month period. And if you recall, last month we were second, so it's getting a little worse. 36th month, driest, with the 50s being the worst and the early 1900s third driest. So even for 3 months, we're right in there with the worst drought conditions on record, or at least driest on record, and obviously it's going to mean drought. 48 months or 4 years consecutively, 6 driest on record. We start to drop behind the 50s, which had close to a decade of drought, especially mid and late 50s. So we're at 6 driest for 48 months, and then 60 months or 5 years, 9th driest. So we can really see, though, that for the past 3 years, we're rivaling the worst droughts ever recorded in the state of New Mexico. And what's that in terms of deficits? In some huge numbers here that I'm trying to point out. If you think of a giant cloud perfectly shaped over the state of New Mexico, it would have to drop over 5 inches of rain for the state to, everywhere, for the state to recoup what we've lost in the last 12 months. And those numbers just get bigger up through 3 years. And they're still awfully high at the 48 and 60 month period. So there's a lot of water we've been missing here in the last few years. And in the years that we're not number one, you can see that the 50s drought leads the way. But obviously it's been 50, 60 years since we've had worse conditions than what we've had here in the last 4 to 5 years combined. Continue what Dee was showing last month with a look at April drought conditions around this time over the past 4 years now. You can see May of this year and May of 2011 were definitely the worst, and fairly similar with this year a little bit worse in terms of the severe and exceptional drought. Not too bad a year ago at this time, and back in the good old days of May 2010, we were coming out of a El Nino, I believe, in 09, and things weren't looking too bad at all. So how are we doing so far this month? Most of the state, again, below normal. Do have an area of above normal precipitation, mainly in the lower Rio Grande Valley here. And then, there's a few pockets where we're near normal, up through the remainder of the Rio Grande Valley and a couple of spots in the southeast and east central plain. And this does not include, this might include precip from this morning. I grabbed this morning. I said the 20th, but it came in this morning on the 21st. So, but I don't think it includes it. But there was around 4/10 of an inch actually overnight in Clovis and 3200s in Cannon Air Force Base, right in through here. So they did get a little bit more rain overnight, but certainly not enough to make a big impact. So here we are, latest drought status from the U.S. Drought Monitor. I wanted to point out that what a difference just from the start of this calendar year and the water year and how we were a year ago with D4 or exceptional drought compared to what we are now. And even just 3 months ago it was only around 1%. So it's really gotten worse here during the spring, and we're really short on precip. So here is a comparison to last month around the same time, and you can see how much exceptional drought we've inserted here over New Mexico. Significant worsening over a big area, northeast, middle, lower Rio Grande Valley, and adjacent areas to that. Central Mountains onto the eastern high plain. And even more so over the last 3 months, since February up till now. Again, this tremendous worsening of the drought to exceptional over a little bit under half the state. 82% almost of New Mexico is in extreme or exceptional drought, 99% moderate or worse. So just this area down here in the far southeast, it's hanging on here with abnormally dry conditions, which would sound pretty good tonight if we could get it everywhere. So let's look at the outlook here from the CPC. This is actually an IRI and CPC joint venture here, showing the model consensus for the INSO pattern, and the models continue to indicate neutral conditions into the fall. This gray line here, at least I think it's gray, actually does dip down into La Nina type conditions here over the winter. Not sure how that's coming out, with all these other models. Victor, maybe you can help me.
That's
yes.
the CPC consensus.
That's
at 9, 10 human beings.
Okay, yeah.
That's human beings.
That's what I thought, yeah. Just CPC itself.
Between the weak, or the neutral, the negative neutral, and the weak La Nina is not that big a difference.
Right.
So they're kind of trending a little bit more towards the La Nina weak.
Right.
That's what that's telling me. Okay. The rest of the lines are basically almost evenly divided, one across the top or the other side. So it's pretty much neutral right on out.
Right.
And not much signal there. There's
No.
not really any signal except neutral. So
typically this time of the year, is the toughest time for the models, and it'll take until late summer or fall until we get a better handle on things. So the June precipitation outlook, it does vary quite a bit across the state. No strong signal out in much of Arizona and western New Mexico, and so the odds of above normal, near normal, or below normal, just about equal chances. But as we head east across the state, central and especially the far eastern plains, there's a tendency for favor of below normal precipitation over at least the eastern half of the state for the month of June. And then, as we've seen in the past several months, the big old A is smack over New Mexico with a strong inkling toward above normal temperatures expected for, and that should be June. That is June's outlook, but it says May. So the monsoon season here, roughly June through August. Again, equal chances in the west, leaning toward below normal precipitation during the summer months in eastern New Mexico. And of course, again, there's a strong tendency to say that temperature's going to be above normal across New Mexico over the summer months. Certainly more favored than near or below normal. And then the drought outlook from now through August, pretty much the same. Drought continues where we have it, and it may develop here in far southeast New Mexico. So really nothing too exciting for the summer months to hang our hats on. I think we'd all be happy if we were near normal. We'll just have to wait and see. I threw this in, this is from CPC as well. And I just grabbed from 2007 up to the current, just looking at what's happened here in the last 6+ years. We were coming out of a El Nino event in the winter of 06 and 07. And since then, we just had one El Nino event from the summer from 2009 into 2010. The rest of the times, we've either been in neutral conditions or, 4 winter seasons, we've been in the La Nina pattern. So, that can explain quite a bit for a lack of precipitation here, as winter and springtime La Nina episodes generally mean less precipitation for New Mexico. So, that might explain some things there right there, but just thought I'd throw that in. And that's it. That's all I have. Name, Chuck, will you be sending this PowerPoint out? Yeah. Yeah, I'll send it as a PDF unless you want a PowerPoint version of it. Yeah, fine. Thank you. Okay.
Any questions for Chuck or any other person at the Weather Service? All right. Thanks, Chuck.
Actually, I do have a
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Go back to your presentation. I had this question, and I think I answered it right. You go up the bunch of slides, keep going up. Yeah. Let's just say slide 9. Any one of those. On the y-axis, it's got 30 inches, and somebody says, well, it never rains 30 inches. This thing is ridiculous. And I explained it that it's cumulative. And I just wanted to verify that that's what that axis is. It's not, we're not taking any average over time. It's just cumulative precip over that 3-year period.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the 3-year total. That's going to be a 4-year.
Right.
Because the values get higher and higher.
Yeah, because we get 8-10 inches of rain on average.
Right.
Across
Right. No, I want
you're
to
right.
make sure that we're like that. Had some
you're right.
very important people question whether the validity of this analysis because of that. And,
They don't have to reground.
Yeah, that's a good question. To make sure we tell people what numbers we compare to.
The other part is, on your presentation there, the drought outlook, it shows persisting drought. And we have neutral predicted. So it doesn't mean that we're gonna have a wash, I don't mean to say that. Our monsoon could be dry or near normal, but that's not gonna help us eradicate drought. It would have to be an above normal monsoon to have some improvement in drought. So that isn't to extract that we're not going to have a near normal. We've seen patches of above normal, especially west and southwest, but the rest of the state ranging from 75 to 100% of the normal monsoon precipitation. There's just an additional explanation there. But that won't do much in terms of changing drought conditions. It'll just hold our own. It'll keep us holding our own.
The drought didn't develop in a couple of months. It's been going on for years.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
But we hope we'll get at least normal. If we don't, we'll get worse, that's for sure. And that's why it's been getting worse, because the spring hasn't been very helpful. So, okay.
Very good. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Alrighty. Let's move on to the Bureau of Reclamation report. Raymond?
Sure. Okay, starting with Rio Grande, and with a total 8,745 acre feet. Aaron, 134,797. Avado, 42,843. RQ, 149,793. Coach T, 48,047. Elephant Butte, 225,275. Caballo, excuse me, Caballo, 10,076. And then the Pecos, Santa Rosa is 2656. Sumner, 5407. Bradley, 9,027. Avalon, 2430. So as we were saying in the last call, or last meeting we had, pretty much everything, they haven't melted off. We didn't see anything, and the Sangre, we're not really seeing much of anything for any help there really either. We're hoping we'd have a little more native coming through. And then Colorado, the thing is, will be sending us just a little bit more water than they had. They were pretty much done, but it turns out they're going to send
been helping some is La Puente. It's coming out the Cumbres there, above Chama. So as up to about right now, the district has been able to irrigate in the Rio Grande, Little Rio Grande, pretty much just all native. Now we'll probably be starting to use some of their stored water. And on the Pecos, they did one watering from their stored water on Carlsbad, and they're waiting for more orders. And then they have 13 days of irrigation water, and they're done as far as stored water or surface water. The rest will have to be pumping. SSID, their allotments are now as low as 66 and 67 CFS for a 2-week period. So they're down to 30 minutes per acre. So they're all having to decide what they're going to water and what they're not going to water. And again, we didn't see a drought coming to Santa Rosa. It pretty much was over before it even got started. So we didn't get any help whatsoever from the snowpack. And so it is what it is there in Santa Rosa. That's all we're going to get. Unless some weird thing it's raining. But otherwise it's pretty dire. It's pretty tight. It's just all the reflection of the last 3 years we've been getting back to back, and it's just really drained everything. That's all I have, unless anyone has questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
What do you think the Rio Grande project's going to fire up?
They're talking about firing up here in a couple weeks or so, and then I think that's going to be only the one watering, I'm thinking. Yeah, it's not going to be very good. So.
Any more questions for Ray?
Ray, has there been any river drying yet?
Which river?
Both.
The Rio Grande or the Pecos?
Yes. Both.
The Rio Grande, no. We're still trying to keep it continuous to our target date of June 15th, and we have been successful so far. It looks like we may make that. On the Pecos, we were good up until just the last few days, so we're going to try to get some folks out. It's gotten awful thin, so we're going to try to go and find where the drying, if there is drying, where it's at. It's probably near the Acme area. But up until just this past couple of weeks on the Pecos, we were continuous also there. So it's just now that we're probably going to see some drying there. But on the Rio Grande, we're good. Should be good till June 15th. And then from there, we'll start to recede and just try to maintain the river around the Albuquerque area.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. I don't think Wayne. I think I got an email from Wayne saying he's probably going to be in the field. So I think it looks like Chuck has the NRCS report up.
Yeah, I'll just briefly go through what we have going on here, which is virtually no snowpack or water equivalent moisture left here in New Mexico. And really just the Rio Grande and Sangres area over the San Juan is the only place there's any snowpack. Upper Rio Grande Basin's only at 21% right now, and 9% on the Sangre de Cristo mountain range basin. The three in New Mexico, North Castillo, which is right on the border, and Red River Pass and Santa Fe, just pretty pathetic. So just about gone there. The Jemez has been done for a while, as all these other places. So San Juan, the headwater is 23% in the best. 2%. So definitely in northwest New Mexico and southwest Colorado's been doing the best this winter. Nothing else.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I asked him. Well, I did have other things, but I didn't want to go through. He had a really long presentation on several things, but it covered the entire western half of the whole Rockies westward. So it wasn't real specific to New Mexico.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we've seen the continued deterioration and real low percentiles. Any questions from those tables? Okay. All right. So let's. I didn't hear Anne Marie on here. Did you guys get the stream flow, the USGS reports?
No, we did not.
Okay. And I might have gotten it, but I probably didn't forward it. So I'll make sure and forward that after the call, if I only got it and you guys didn't. So sorry about that. All right, so let's move on to John and Molly. Office of State Engineer report.
Alrighty, I got two things to report on. I'll do a little bit of go through the reservoir levels and graphic view. Kind of look at some snowtail time series data and some select stream flow data. Kind of, as you guys know, I use this sort of a sounding board for you guys, and I got a couple had some help from the IFC to bring some different GF data in. It just kind of shows how stark things really are. As everybody knows, it's our legend. This is the average for the reservoir, whatever we're talking about, based on 30-year NRCS average. This would have been the reservoir storage this time last year, and this is the reservoir storage current. I'm going to start this time in the Pecos. And I figured start with Western Springs. So we all know that ran out. I think it almost was ran out last meeting. So I don't know if the scale's not real good there, but basically a month early, something like that. Peaked about a couple weeks early, maybe, and then obviously way off the peak. So we had a runoff, and I thought this was really interesting. I got this off the USGS Drought website, and this was something that provided to somebody kind of looked at from the Greg Lewis from the Pecos Bureau at the Interstate Stream Commission. And I could get into what all these colors are, but just looking at the lowest 10th percentile is the brown, and the bottom of that is the record low. The Pecos, so this is Pecos River above Santa Rosa, in other words, the inflow to Santa Rosa Lake, has been a record low, something between 1 and 2 CFS since about, mid-October, beginning of the water year last year. Never's really made it above 2 CFS. I think that's the runoff right in there, and I'm not being facetious. It's pretty poor. So that's a pretty startling statistic, I thought, to have such a kind of departure. And then of course, going along with that, Santa Rosa, as Ray reported, pretty low conditions and well off from where we were last year, which is well off from what the average is. So we're that upper basin is in big kind of big time drought. I mean, that's some unprecedented stuff. The other thing we found is a cumulative plot. Now, if you look here, it says cumulative stream flow in millions of cubic feet. And I did some of these for the Rio Grande, which will be in acre feet, or thousands or million acre feet. I couldn't, when you bring this up in acre feet, the cumulative stream flow since the beginning of the water year doesn't even come up. So I had to change the scale. But what's interesting, maybe not interesting, but what's notable is it's an order of magnitude off of where you would anticipate it to be for this kind of year of cumulative flow. So just another demonstration, short record, 32 6 years, but of just really just how incredibly dry the Pecos Basin has been, upper basin. Then I'll just go through these really quick. Sumner, Ray's already talked about that. We're about the same where we were last year, obviously way off average. Brantley, I think great. I don't have my number in front of me, but I think we're about the same, 9,000 something. So pretty current there. Quite a bit below where we were last year, not quite half off of where we usually are. And then just to talk about the Pecos River settlement, as part of the settlement, the parties try to get to certain marks at different times of the year, and we have what we call a Brantley equivalent, which is adding up upstream storage, accounting for losses to bring it down to Brantley. And by June 1st, which was in a couple weeks, we should be about 65,000 acre feet. The current June 1 storage projections, that starts with May 1 storage, and assumes average hydrologic conditions, which obviously we're not experiencing at this point, particularly if we've already started seeing drying in the Pecos. 19,000 acre feet, and I guess obviously we're not going to make that. Groundwater augmentation pumping in order to make up that 65,000 is 46,000 acre feet, and it's the Greg who helped put this together with me, want to make the point that the period of record that was used to come up with the settlement, that these conditions are way out of what that record was. It's just incredibly dry. There's legal limitations on the amount of water the Interstate Stream Commission can pump, so it doesn't even have the legal authority to pump that amount. And the other point he wanted me to make, and the capacity is also the design capacity. It was never conceived to be able to make up these kinds of groundwater augmentation. So pretty spectacular conditions on the Pecos in terms of surface water conditions. Real quick, Navajo, we saw a pretty big drop off from last year, and as we talked about, I don't know if we have the core on, it's that 400,000 mark is, I think, what people will start looking for next year, see how the snowpack goes. Going into the Chama, we've gone through this a little bit. Here's the time series runoff. We're, again, I think it's about 3 weeks early, peak maybe a week or two before peak. This is up at 8,400 feet at Chimita. Hopewell, again, another same story. Obviously, quite a bit off of normal. This looks like maybe 2-3 weeks peak off of normal, but came out maybe just 2 weeks early. That precipitous drop off, which is interesting. And then looking at storage, we've gone through this. Aaron, just this time last year was quite a bit. So a lot of that San Juan Chama water was drawn down, well off average. Elgato, which is a good indicator of the native water, well off from where we were last year and well off from average. And then Abiquiu, we've seen this trend, where last year, this year we're all around average, and I think like last fall we saw it quite a bit above average in terms of current storage. So that's something's been pulled down there, or has changed there. Maybe it's just over time. I haven't looked at the numbers I've meant to do that. So one of the things that I looked at is I wanted to look at the cumulative stream flow chart. I thought this was the kind of the easiest way of just seeing where we are in terms of cumulative stream flow, kind of running into Ottawa. So this is La Fuente. Not the lowest observed cumulative flow. That was 2002. So maybe that's a bit of good news. We're a little bit above that. This is in millions of acre feet. So 2002 is about 200,000 acre feet about now, and we're at 50,000 acre feet cumulative flow. So that's 50,000 acre feet. I'm sorry, 50,000. Yeah. So that kind of matches up the storage pick up over the season. Then looking up kind of near Cerro, I thought this was pretty interesting. This, I guess, is probably a little bit of the effect of the management, maybe upstream, I don't know, but we're at just above the lowest is 1964, not even at 100,000 acre feet yet, and traditionally it looks like if you look at the median, this just levels out, That's not good news. Your high year, even your low years just start leveling out, so not expecting a whole lot of inflow there. Oh, let me go back. Again, looking at La Fuente, again, this would be, you'd expect to still be picking up water here, and then again, it just essentially flattens out when we start looking at the median, when we look at the record and look at the high. So, thinking about under 100,000 acre feet maybe total flow. So I thought that was notable, and then I picked up Ottawa, again, kind of starting to flatten out. But this is millions of acre feet. That's 1 million. This is 100,000, 200, maybe 250,000, already gone to 300,000, something like that. And of course, these are all just general numbers. Some of them have been adjusted, some of them not. So those of us who were all aware, there's Salem Chama water influences, upstream management influences, those kinds of things. So these are just general sort of observations of what's going on in the upper or our upper Rio Grande. I thought it was interesting. It's a 108-year record. So this is a pretty long record. And we're not at a record low. That was 1904, which interesting correspond. We're seeing some years correspond here. It's not a lot surprising. And so then of course that leads down to the south. What we've got down south, and this is what Ray is talking about. Got about 200,000 acre feet in Elephant Butte. Obviously well off the average, well down from last year, and there's really not a lot of inflow coming in. We've seen a lot of melt out. We haven't seen any real spikes. I didn't show any time series stream flow. There's been some spikes, but not anything notable. I just wanted to make it as quick as I could. And then Caballo, again, and we know that story. So that's it for my report. For that, I do have another thing. It's our website. I did have an opportunity, and so I just kind of give you guys a heads up. I was at got invited to the National Drought Drought Outlook in Washington D.C. this past last Thursday. And first thing I wanted to just say thanks. There's a couple people from this group, notably Dave, who put us on to some good information. We had some good help from our friends in the Impact Assessment Committee, which we've talked about in the past. And we did a 5-minute presentation, kind of just very simple. They didn't really want us to talk through current conditions. So I kept it brief. I showed kind of, I think we've all seen the Santa Rosa, sort of drawing of Santa Rosa. We actually went back and there's a picture in 05 where it's full. So we kind of went full, partial full, and dried the thing up. I think that was a pretty effective visual of what we were going through. I also, and I wish Wayne was on, and I think Wayne's not on because of his negative stream flow forecast. So I kind of pointed that out. That was a pretty spectacular forecast to flow into the Rio Grande project this year. We went through some impacts. We talked rangeland impacts, irrigated farming impacts, both groundwater versus surface water, noting that the rangeland and surface water irrigators are some of the hardest hit with regards to agriculture. Forests, we had 2011, 2012 bottom line worst fire season in state history. The state's starting to get into, we're starting to begin some economic estimates. We're working with our Department of Finance administration. There's a report out now that's starting to link both direct and indirect costs associated with fires, and we're looking at the hundreds of millions of dollars of economic impact from the last couple of years. Talked a little about drinking water. I'll kind of skip over that. Tourism. I kind of made the comment that people don't stop coming to New Mexico because it's sunny, warm, and dry. It's kind of nice weather here, but some of some of the industries that we've, in terms of our impact assessment, that we're really expecting to see some big numbers. Skiing has been negatively impacted. Rafting has been negatively impacted, and obviously this year we're really expecting that to take a little bit more hit than in previous years. And because of the low lake storage and rivers, it's between 10 and 15%. I think it's like 13, maybe 18% of our fishing licenses are down, and fishing's a big deal on a per person per day kind of thing. They're trying to figure out numbers. I mean, it starts getting up into the millions, tens of millions pretty quick. Of course, ESA has been a major problem. And then we went through some of the response. I won't get into that with this group. And then I guess I would conclude one of the responses, kind of some of the legislative stuff that's going on in the state. This last session, I think we talked about how drought has been talked about quite a bit. And then this summer, we anticipate that may have been scheduled. I haven't had a chance to follow up that there are interim sessions on drought impacts. I think there's going to be 3 separate special, quote unquote, special meetings. One in Socorro, one in, what's that? Is it Tier C or Elephant Butte? I can't remember which. So the Elephant Butte area or Tier C, and then one in Las Cruces. And then, of course, that we've been funded for some litigation. We concluded just with a lot of overdue stuff, but some of the forecast, we had a gentleman by the name of Dave Miskus. You guys know Dave? Do you know Dave? He gave the national seasonal forecast and drought outlook, and I made a point, maybe you saw it, of kind of pinning him down on the monsoons, and you know, it was pretty. They basically said you guys, well, I don't know what they said, but what they said right now, you know, the monsoon, we all know is a fickle forecast. It's a tough one to forecast, can change very quickly. And I think everybody recognizes that, but they said that the trends appear to be, and this is reflected in the 90-day outlook, that the monsoon's anticipated to be more of a westward track this year, favoring Arizona and perhaps western New Mexico, but as you go east, it doesn't look good. So, of course, that's where a lot of our rangeland's at, and where we're seeing some really spectacular impacts in terms of secondary impacts. We've starting to see some population changes in some of the smaller rural communities that we're looking at from BBR and stuff like that. So I'll conclude with that.
Great, thanks. Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry, that broke up.
Yeah, John, I was wondering if you'd be able to send your slides out to the group. That was pretty good.
I will send my, I absolutely. I have 2 sets of slides. One's just a black and white PowerPoint. That was my notes. I didn't actually use those slides. And then I have the Santa Rosa slides. So I'll send those 2 files out.
Great, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thanks, John. Any questions? Alrighty. I think Chuck has the NDVI departure from average, so that would be a cue for Les and Ryan with NMDA.
Yeah, there's no good news. The NDVI departures show what we all know, that conditions are dry throughout the state. That's, as John said, the impacts to rangelands are, they're extreme. And we're going, the last 2 years over most of the state, there hasn't been any forage production at all. So another year will be extremely tough for to keep the few cattle that are left out on the rangelands there. And I also included a weekly crop and weather report from NAS, and it just says what all the impacts that have been the same for the past couple of years. It's rangeland conditions are bad, soil moisture's extremely low. What few folks are still holding on to some cattle are having to haul some to the sale every week. Any dryland farming activity with dryland wheat or anything like that is in very poor condition. Some of with the groundwater pumping, there's some crop production that's doing okay, but of course there's salinity problems and other things that go along with relying just on groundwater. So pretty dire circumstances for the production agriculture across the state. It needs to rain, and it needs to rain a lot for a long time. But so I don't really have anything
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Tom?
Oh, John, did you get a chance to talk to to get any cattle numbers from up in the Clayton office?
Hi, Dave.
Yeah.
We're on the mute button there. We did contact,
Manuel?
was it Nancy?
Manny?
Encinas.
Yeah.
Molly was, talked to him, and, I'll let Molly, what's your?
I talked to him. I guess he's from Clayton or lives in Clayton, and he just gave me some idea, which I don't have the numbers in front of me, of the downtrend of cows in Union County, and he was talking about the economic impact on Clayton and the number of jobs lost and people leaving.
I think he mentioned that, I guess the metric they're looking at is something called mother cows.
Uh-huh.
And he said that they got the data together, I guess 2012, they still don't have the data totally together. They're working on that for the statewide stuff. 2011 wasn't very good, but what they anticipate is for the mother cow metric that we're basically going to see levels probably back to 1950 era.
Mm.
So dramatic numbers. I think it supports kind of what Les was saying in terms of most producers are either moving east, taking their genetics and moving east, or just keeping their genetics and having to figure out how to survive, or they're just going out of business. And so it's a pretty grim picture. I would add that at the National Drought Outlook, there was a discussion from the let's see, who was it? It was somebody called the chief economist, somebody named Brad Ripley from USDA, who went through rangeland discussions, and New Mexico we weren't the worst. We were right there. So we had some guys. We had a guy from the New Mexico Cattlemen's Incorporated, and then some other cattle folks from. Well, I guess they were irrigated and cattle folks, and they're experiencing the same kind of conditions in western Oklahoma, western Nebraska, and western Kansas. So some people like to feel like they're not alone. I suppose we're not alone, but a lot of these are really difficult decisions that are happening all the time.
Okay. Well, we should keep following up with Manny, and when he gets his 2012 numbers, be good to have. It takes a few months to accumulate all. Yeah, I just wanted to, just to follow up with Manny when he gets his 2012 data. It'd be good to have that.
I'll send him an email.
Yeah. I know it takes a few months to get it all together, because I think a lot of that is just manual calling and him tabulating the numbers. Last time I talked to him when we got the 2011 numbers, it wasn't something that was in a database. I think some of it was just calling. Okay. Any questions for Les or Ryan? Okay. I was at the Las Cruces BLM office a few days ago, and just met with some of the folks there. And one of the things they just verbally mentioned that in terms of the rangeland impacts, they were seeing some of the mesquite hadn't come out yet. The leaves haven't come out yet. So, and they haven't had a lot of data in terms of when it usually comes out, but they said it is abnormally late in the season. In some areas hadn't come out yet. So I thought that was interesting. I was going to follow up with he was the state botanist over here in Cruces. Okay. All right. I didn't see anything. Oh yeah. Actually, Joylyn or Emelita, are you on? You in Las Cruces? I'm in Albuquerque.
Hi, yeah, both Emelita and I
main ones that we had earlier in the year, we've only had 2, and it's only because of other states that we have counties that are contiguous. One of them was Colfax because of a declaration in Colorado. The other one was Hidalgo that just occurred, I think, last year. Those are on the last page. I mean, last week, not last year. But that's all I have. It looks from the summary that most of New Mexico, if not all New Mexico, has been declared. So if and when we do get any programs, our county should be okay to participate, right? And that's kind of all I have. I will send out the summary to the group. I apologize for not sending it out before.
So Hidalgo was the last one?
Yes.
Okay.
So the last ones are on the, well, I'm sorry, you guys don't have this. I'll send it to you. So on May 1st, Arizona was declared a disaster area, and because Hidalgo is contiguous to one of those counties, they were included in that disaster declaration. And the one that was approved on the 8th of May was in Colorado, and Colfax is included because it's contiguous to one of those counties.
Ah, okay. Very good, thanks.
Can you send out the shape file? Do you have a shape file on all these?
I can.
I don't know if everybody else needs it, but I think that'd be good for us to have that.
Do you want all of them?
Just total.
Of everything that's included? Do you want them declaration specific? Or would that help you?
That'd be great.
End of the week? Will that be okay?
Yeah.
Emily?
Well, I don't really have anything new. We did, they let us continue making our NAP payments, which helps our livestock producers a lot. I find it interesting talking about Colfax County, because I've heard reports from all over the state that if it doesn't rain this year, they're going to sell out. But NAP is still a program that helps those producers. We set the non-irrigated wheat grazing loss on the east side of the state at 95% loss. That was for Clay, Curry, and Roosevelt County. So that's about all I have.
Okay, any questions? All right.
One thing we really need for storm data is costs associated with the drought, and we're struggling in any place to get those. Do any of you guys know, does anybody track either egg costs, livestock costs?
Well, it's a complex question, obviously, because there's a couple things. One, there's direct impact costs, and then there's secondary impact costs. Our DFA guys have started looking at that from our state level, and we've got some data for 2011, a lot of fire data for 2012, but a lot of the ag data for 2012 is just like we were talking with cattle and stuff like that is not yet available. We're all short-staffed trying to do this best we can, just like everybody else. So I don't know of anybody who has specific numbers, specific numbers. I guess they're swag kind of things. But the initial numbers. So we're going through by sector. Where's my thing here? And as I went through, we're looking at agriculture and we're breaking that down. You have your rangeland stuff. So that's sort of your cattle, ranging cattle, and then your dry land. Current estimate for dry land, which was made based on taking losses relative to a 10-year average, is at $87 million. Irrigated farming is a tough one. If you got access to groundwater, you didn't lose money on this thing. You made money. We're seeing at least triple, from the long-term average price of hay to what hay is now. So that's kind of an offsetting thing. But if you're a surface water irrigator, there's impacts that are going to be secondary. A lot of the surface water irrigators have access to groundwater, so they still may be producing crops. But I think this year we're really starting to hear more and more reports about fallowing more and more concerns about costs associated with increased pumping. But some of the groundwater stuff, is it a drought? Is it because you've been mining the aquifer? Yeah, there's that kind of stuff. We're also, we've talked about the fires. There's a report out, and if I can remember, I'll try to send you the link. I'll try to put a note here. And I don't know if Susan's on, Susan Rich, she pointed me that way, and as did some DFA people, that they're doing an economic assessment. It's not from our guys, it's somebody else, and it's putting it the range anywhere from tens of millions to hundreds of millions. There's one estimate that puts it almost close to $1 billion in terms of economic impact. With regards to drinking water, it's a little bit different there. Really, what we're seeing mostly is the smaller communities that are getting hit by that. But you also have stuff like Rito, so Alamogordo, they lost a third of their supply, watershed. So how you make an economic impact, of course, is direct associated costs of capital outlay funding, but then there's indirect costs, and then some of that's folded into fire. Tourism, recreation, again, went through that skiing, looking at skiing and so we have data on days skied, and then compare that to 10-year averages, and so we're like 10% down, something like that, and figure $85 per ski day per person. So there's some numbers that are preliminary on that. We don't have anything on rafting yet. We're looking into rafting. That's sort of kind of like where the analysis is at now. And then, of course, we talked about the sort of the fishing impact. And that's apparently that the fishermen apparently spend a lot of money. They ain't afraid to spend money.
$100 at least.
Yeah. So right now, that's kind of the various sectors that we've identified to look at. Through the impact assessment committee, we'll probably go through and check for other sectors. We have really had very little communication and response from Game and Fish with regards to game in general. I'm sure there's been some, just hearing from various reports about there's been some licenses that have been released for special hunts, so that's a net positive, but I'm sure overall there's a net loss in terms of being able to issue permits and how they're doing that. So that data I'm sure is out there, we haven't been able to get a hold of that yet. I expect that to be coming.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue because we've got to do it by county, but if we could at least share some kind of numbers, I think we'd be making enough money.
Well, why don't you give me a call and we'll talk about it offline, and that'd be really helpful.
The other way it should be presented, just thinking about my head, per capita type losses. Because it's not a huge population day, but the amount per person, just as you calculate for skier day or fisherman day,
Right.
it's a lot of money loss for a state that's slightly populated. So I think it's definitely an impact.
Some of the other states got some people, different industries. But at the last job, I don't know if we've had a meeting since the last job task force meeting. Have we had a meeting since then?
I think this last meeting was after.
Oh, so we haven't talked about the drought task force meeting. Oh.
Oh, no, I don't know, I wasn't here last time, so maybe you did.
I don't remember if I did or not. Dave, did we talk about the drought task force meeting?
We mentioned it. We didn't go into any much detail on the meeting specifically.
Never mind. Was it early August or finally determined? We figured kind of towards the end of the monsoon, or kind of midway through the monsoon, to see if anything happens with the monsoon.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a hard.
Right.
I thought there was, but I couldn't find my notes. Dave, you know when the next drought task force meeting is?
We didn't set a date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's exactly what you said. Waiting until the monsoon kicks in, and so probably mid to late July, I guess, or even August.
I think we're looking more towards August.
August.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any on my notes. We set any dates. All right. Any other questions? Any other topics for discussion? Alrighty, let's get the calendars out for next month. So our CPC out the forecast come out on June 20th, Thursday, the third Thursday of the month. So how about the following week? Monday is the 24th, Tuesday is 25th, Wednesday 26th. Either of those days, anybody have any preference? Is the weather service available any of those days?
Either Monday or Tuesday, that's for me.
About the Tuesday, 25th? Will that work?
June 25th?
June 25th, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Okay, I don't hear anybody saying they can't make it. All right.
I'm sorry, Dave, did you say 10 o'clock?
Yeah, 10 a.m. same time. June 25th, Tuesday.
Okay, great.
All righty, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Talk to you later.